If you're watching this video on the NES YouTube channel, there's more information and useful links in the description below.
This is Turas Learn Professional Portfolio session. Welcome everybody. It's lovely to see so many participants. I know we're expecting a lot of participants today, so perhaps people will start, keep coming in as we're going through the session, and that's fine. My colleague Richard Partridge is with me today. Richard and I are both practice educators working for NES, and we are running this session on professional portfolio. And it really is a getting started session. Welcome everybody. So today, what Richard and I aim to do is give you a wee overview and a demonstration of using Turas professional portfolio. And that portfolio is specifically for you to record your evidence of learning and your development. So by the end of the session, what we are hoping is that you'll be able to identify the many benefits of recording your learning and development using professional portfolio, and that you should be able to demonstrate the use of portfolio and be able to showcase how it can work for you. So that's the aim of the session, and those are the two objectives. But please don't worry, we'll take this step by step and we'll make it. It is pretty easy, but we are saying that with the benefit of having used it for quite a few years, but we'll try and make it as simple as possible so that you can get that benefit as well. Okay? So I'm going to pass you over to Richard now.
And just show you how to access a professional portfolio. John Smith is a support worker, our dummy profile. So some of you have said that you've already got a Turas account, but not necessarily a professional portfolio, or don't know whether you've got a professional portfolio. So obviously you can see that John Smith has already got a professional portfolio, which is just here. And you've also got your Turas Learn, which is another application within the Turas dashboard. So when you log in to your Turas account, you'll come to your dashboard, and how you add the professional portfolio is you go to the Add Application tab here that you can see me hovering over. If you click on that, it'll take you to this page here, which will give you a variety of different applications that you can add to your professional portfolio, to your Turas account. Okay. So obviously our John has got his professional portfolio already, so I can't add that application. But to add, you just go to Add Applications. Okay, and the tab is there. So we'll have to use our imagination, and we've added that tab, and you can see your professional portfolio has appeared on your dashboard. Okay. And if you click on Professional Portfolio, it'll open up John Smith's professional portfolio. And this is your home screen. So when you first log in, you're going to have to add your own portfolio. And where you can see my portfolio in the upper right corner there, you're going to click on that, and you're going to click onto Recognition of Prior Learning to add that professional portfolio to your account. Okay. Professional, my portfolio, recognition of prior learning. And that'll add your professional portfolio to your account. Okay. And that's how you add your portfolio. Add application, add your professional portfolio tab, and then go to my portfolio, recognition of prior learning. And you'll have this video to be able to go over this again if I've gone too fast for you. Okay. And if you want that repeated at the end, please let us know and I can go over it again at the end if we have time. Any questions, Angela, before I move on? Or Leslie, is there any questions on that?
Richard, there's a few questions coming in about portfolios and which one to use, and you have just covered the fact that it's the RPL portfolio that people, if you're a support worker, you're looking for recognition of prior learning portfolio, that's the ones Okay, that's specifically for support workers. And I see somebody had said they have an AHP portfolio. I suspect you might have clicked the wrong tab. I'm not entirely sure there, but it's a recognition of prior learning portfolio that you want to add to your dashboard there. And Richard, just a quick question. Somebody's asked, what if you're a manager? If you are a support worker and you manage other support workers, it's still recognition of prior learning. It's simply a portfolio. It's a place to record your evidence. It really is as generic as that.
So I'm just going to bring back up the demonstration site, and Angela will go through some of the points within the learning portfolio, and then I'll cover a few other things as well. So I'll just bring that up and hand over to Angela.
Thanks, Richard. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give you a wee demonstration, just a wee flavour of how to use Learning Portfolio. And Richard's right, we refer to it as professional portfolio and learning portfolio quite interchangeably, and that's a historical thing that you know you don't need to bother about too much. But what we really would like to know is it confusing, I suppose? And if you were to choose, which name would you prefer? But we'll go over that at the end. We've got a wee questionnaire for you. So this is what we call our demonstrator site. So you will see on your screen we have a professional portfolio or a learning portfolio that belongs to John Smith. And John Smith is an entirely fictional character, okay? So this is just, as I said, a demonstrator site that we play about with and we use for that purpose, just to show you how Learning Portfolio works. So you'll see here that we've got the front page up. And what we know about Learning Portfolio or Professional Portfolio is it can help you to record your job satisfaction, doing your job to the best of your ability, or for your role or career progression. So really it's entirely up to you how you use it and what you record on it. So if I could give you any advice, my advice would be once you have your account, once you've got and you've accessed Learning Portfolio, play about with it. You won't break it, and it really is the best way to learn. And it's the best way to get used to all the functions. And to be honest with you, you will wonder, once you've got it and you start using it to record your learning and development, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it. It really is that good. So one of the first things that I'm going to highlight before I go over the front facing page, what that looks like and what you can access through that, I'm going to get Richard to highlight the wee help desk button, because this is a really useful function of your portfolio. So straight away you'll see the green help desk function is at the right, and if Richard clicks in that, what you're able to do through accessing that is to get help, information and support, and ask any questions of the support team. So you'll see that when it opens, it's a pre-populated box, and the reason it's pre-populated is once you have your portfolio account, your details will be pre-populated in certain parts of it. So for example, your name and the email that's attached to your Turas portfolio account. Now, I've seen somebody in the chat had asked earlier, which email do you use? Well, actually, you can use any email you like, but generally speaking, most people who work for the NHS use their NHS email, but I believe it's entirely up to you. You can use whichever email is the easiest for you. So what Richard's doing is he's put in the subject box what his issue is, and he's given a wee bit more detail about his issue. He said he's unable to find his portfolio and that he's signed into Turas and he can't access it. So if this was a real live issue that Richard had with his portfolio, he would simply press the submit button, and that would go straight to the portfolio support team, and they would very quickly get back to him and help him resolve that issue. So that's one of the brilliant functions about portfolio. If you're ever struggling a wee bit, you can get help and support with it. Okay, so I would advise you all just to make sure that you know that you can get that help and support through clicking the green button, the help desk button. So what Richard is now on is the home page, and your home page on portfolio has an overview of all of the functionality. Okay, so you'll see that you've got a your details section, and I'll go over that in a wee bit more detail as I go along. You've got a creating new evidence forum section. You've got an uploading document section underneath that, and Richard will do a wee bit of work in that with you later. And you've also got a creating a share pack session. Now, I'm not going to go over the Create and Share Pack session because we have got an advanced professional portfolio session on Wednesday from 1:30 to 2:30, and that session goes over creating a share pack and asking for feedback. So it's quite specific for those two functions because we thought it was an awful lot to cram into one session. So we're just going to go over the kind of a more, it's not basic functionality, but probably the functionality that you'll use most in your professional portfolio or your learning portfolio. So that's a wee overview of that front page. But what you'll see up the top, there's a banner and it's got home, it's got profile, it's got evidence, and it's got upload document and share packs. So really that is the best way to navigate the portfolio, just using these navigation buttons. So if we go on to profile first, and Richard's going to click on profile, you'll see that straight away this is your professional profile, and it's got some different sections. But before you go any further, what I would say to you is, if you have a look at the guidance box at the very, very top, and Richard, it's a kind of expandable and retractable box. So if you click on that guidance, it tells you what kind of information you should record in that section. So information about your professional employment, your career development, and your achievements are all part of that profile section. And it's telling you the purpose of it, so you can use that professional profile for a number of purposes. And I'm not going to read them all because I know it's a small screen that might be difficult to read, but as I said before, I think what you need to do with portfolio is go in and play about with it. But just to give you an overview, that section is where you would keep all your profile information up to date and in one place. It can help you to develop a CV, and it's actually got a lovely link to a CV template in there. Richard can just highlight that in the second bullet point down. That's got a link to a CV template, and it tells you it's about having information ready to help complete an application form if you were applying for another job or a promoted post. And it's got the ability to help you demonstrate your achievements to your manager, your supervisor, or an appraiser. And it can help you to review your profile and identify any gaps in your development or areas of interest. So that's the guidance for that section, and I'll let Richard just retract that box up. Okay, so when we go down, you can see that your details in your professional profile, we'll just move further down, thank you, Richard, is pre-populated. When you apply for your profile, your portfolio, as I said, you've applied with your name and the email address that's going to be linked to that portfolio. So it comes pre-populated with your name, what your email address is for your portfolio, where you work, what your organisation is, and your current role. Okay, now it's unlikely that you might have to edit those details because generally speaking, those are the details that are pretty permanent. However, if you need to edit them, you'll see that there's an edit your Turas details box. Now, just a wee cautionary word here, when you do that, it opens up in a different box. It's actually a different window. It allows you to edit once you've edited and you've perhaps changed. So you can see that you can edit any of the details that you need to edit. And once you've done that, you click right down to the bottom and it allows you to save. Now you would be able to save that, but just be aware that this is a different window that's opened and your professional or your learning portfolio window is right behind it. So Richard's just going to come out that and go back in to the portfolio because it is a different window. Okay. So that enables you to edit any of the details that you want. And that's your profile details for your portfolio. When Richard moves further down, you'll see that there are other details that you can fill in there. And remember, as I've said before, it's entirely up to you what level of detail or what amount of detail you want to put in that portfolio section. Okay, so you can see here it's got professional details, so it's work address and your contact number at work. If you want to add that, that's absolutely fine. Again, if you needed to edit it, we're not going to demo the editing again, but it's the same edit your professional details box, and again it comes up as a separate window. Once you've completed it and submitted it, you then have to close that window and you're back in your portfolio proper. You've then got your personal details, again, entirely up to you if you want to add a personal address and a secondary email address, which perhaps could be your personal email address, if that's not the address that you've used to get your portfolio account, you can pop all that in there. Again, if anything changes, that's all editable. So that's all the profile boxes. And we've had a wee look at those, okay? So then in profile, you've also got the ability to record your education. And I'll let Richard click on, you can see education there. But before Richard does that, he can go up to the guidance notes and you can see that there's an education guidance here. And it's straightforward and simple. It's telling you to start with your most recent qualifications or those that you're working towards and want to highlight. Make sure you include any dates of study, the educational institution you attended, so where did you study, and the dates that your qualifications were awarded and any grades. So if Richard moves down, you'll see that we've got some sample forums in there. So under education, we've got what John Smith has done. And these, as I said, these are just made up examples. So you can see that John's undertaken venipuncture training. He's done an SVQ level 3 healthcare support. And so on and so forth. But if Richard wanted to, or if John rather wanted to edit any of those details, if you look at the action boxes at the side, what John could do is he could go in and he could either view that information, he could edit it, so amend it, change it, update it, or he could delete it. Now, it's quite a nice wee system here. What happens is if you go to delete something, and we're all very aware that we can inadvertently delete something and then regret it. What happens is if John wanted to delete this, he would be prompted by a box that asks him, are you sure you want to delete the education? And that's referring to the forum that he's wanting to delete. So it gives you that second opportunity just to make sure that you're not deleting something you didn't want to delete. So you either delete it or you press cancel because it's been an error. So Richard's going to press cancel. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you just how succinct the information but what I wanted to show you was we want to make sure that portfolio doesn't give you another job to do. It shouldn't be too onerous. It shouldn't, be War and Peace that you're writing. You want to keep your information nice and succinct and concise. So if Richard clicks on the view box for that venipuncture training, you can view that forum and you can see that it's a really nice straightforward form. He's given the title of the training. So John has done venipuncture training. He started it on the 19th of November 2018 and he got a pass, and the date he was awarded that was the 17th of December 2018, and the institution that he studied that at was NHS Highland. So clearly that was an NHS board course. So you can see that there's not an awful lot of detail required, but it's entirely up to you. If you wanted to spend time putting in more detail, then you could do that. But we're going to get Richard just to return to the list and leave that form, okay? So then you can see that you've got employment. Your next section is employment under your professional profile. And under the guidance here, it tells you very, very, smartly to start with your present or your most recent post. You could include your employer, the dates that you worked for them, your job title, your grades, and ideally your main responsibilities. It's good to put those kind of things down. But it's telling you if you're applying for a post, you could provide more detail on other posts that you've held and give examples of the skill set that you've built up over time and what you've achieved. And it's telling you quite sensibly to include any relevant experience, including temporary work and any volunteering experience. And it's advising you that if you have any gaps in your employment, time out travelling or looking after children or volunteering or whatever, to include that, to actually just acknowledge that within the details section there, okay? So if we go into employment, I'm not going to labour too much on this because I think the evidence forms are what we really need to be focusing on here. But you can see in employment that John Smith has worked as a healthcare support worker since 2014. He's held down 2 posts, and the detail of both these posts from 2014 until his present post, which he's still in as a healthcare support worker, you can see he's put down his main responsibilities. And if you wanted to view that form again, you would simply push on the action button, view it, edit it, or delete it. And that way you're building up a really nice bank of information on all your jobs and all the main responsibilities of your job, and it's all there and in the one place. And Richard is now going to go to achievements. And it tells you within achievements, there's drop-down guidance for achievements as well. And it tells you within achievements the types of things that you should be recording. So it's telling you under achievements. And this is quite lengthy, this information. So what it's getting you to do under achievements is really make sure that you put down relevant information. So if you've done any research, any publications, any presentations, include your interests or personal achievements, any additional information, and include any supporting statements. And we can show you how to upload documents, you know, just toward the end of this session, so that you can upload any existing application forms that you've previously created. So you can see here under achievements that John Smith has been awarded the Duke of Edinburgh Bronze Award, and he does voluntary work for the John Muir Trust. And there's a wee bit of information about those in the forums that are there. And again, under actions, you can go in and you can view those, or you can edit them, or you can delete them. So that's your professional profile that contains your details of your education, details of your employment, past and current, and details of any achievements. So a really lovely way to store all of your information, all of the relevant information about you in one place. So I'm just checking to see if there's any questions that we really need to pick up on before we move on. And people are talking about some of the modules in Turas and will it be transferred onto the profile. We'll go over that as we go along, if that's okay. And Leslie, thanks for answering that question up above it. Thank you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the section that is probably the one that you will be in the most in your learning portfolio, in your professional portfolio, and that's the evidence section. And you can see that when Richard clicks on evidence, there are 3 parts to that. So you can document evidence of your learning, you can document any feedback that you have either given, provided for people, or you have received for yourself, and you can also document your reflections. Okay, so 3 things you can document under learning. And each learning form has drop-down guidance. So what you will see is under the record of learning activity, when Richard clicks on that, it tells you that that form can be used to record any learning or professional development activity that you might want to consider using the forum for. So any significant or key learning activities, any academic or work-based programs that have run over a period of time. So what we're going to demonstrate now is we're going to show you how you would create a new forum, and we'll show you some examples of existing forums that have been created for this John Smith, this support worker John Smith. So Richard's clicked on create a learning forum, so he's going to create a record of learning activity at this point in time. And that record of learning activity, as I said before, can be used to create any learning or professional development activity. It's entirely up to you. This is your portfolio. Use it in any way that you see fit. So what that forum would want is, what did you do? Fairly straightforward. What's the title of what you did? What learning did you undertake? Okay. When did you do it? And you'll see that there's some really nice date fields here. So you don't even have to go about searching for that date and typing it in. You can actually click on the calendar and you can pop the date in. So from when until when? What was the period of time that you undertook that learning in? It then asks you the number of CPD hours, and CPD, as you know, is continuous professional development. So how many hours did it take you to do it? It's as simple as that. And please be aware, if you did 2 hours worth of training, but perhaps you had some homework attached to that, or you had some pre-course work to do, include that as well, because that's all part of that CPD. It's then wanting a wee short description of the learning or the professional development activity. So you can see that Richard's quite clearly typing in here he attended a virtual learning session. And interestingly, please, 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 when you all get your portfolios, go out and record your attendance at the Healthcare Support Worker Virtual Week. So whatever you attend this week, make sure you record it, because that's all really relevant stuff. So it's asking what a wee description. What were your key learning points? And again, don't write War and Peace. Just keep it nice and succinct. Don't make another job for yourself. So your key learning points. Okay. And after Richard's written down his key learning points here in John Smith's portfolio. Okay. And that's just it. How to add a learning portfolio to your Turas account. What was the impact in your practice? Okay, what's it going to make you do, or what's it make you done? Okay, what is it you're going to do as a result of this, or what have you already done? So how is it impacting on your practice? Keep it brief, keep it concise, but make sure it contains all the relevant information that you want it to contain. And remember, I always say, give your record a memorable name, because as you start to use your portfolio over years and years, and you will, I promise you, you will have so much information there that you want to be able to find the information that you need quickly. So give it a name that you will immediately resonate with you and that you'll remember. So I'm going to stop now after Richard shows us a wee example of a learning form that we've popped in some time ago for John Smith. And you can see that what Richard does is he saves that form and he exits. Okay, so he's got three options: either save and exit, or cancel. So he's saving and exiting, and that brings him straight back to the original page he was on. So you can now see that Richard has added learning portfolio getting started session to that learning record. It's there, it's done, it's straight away, and it's been done in the time that it's taken us to tell you that. So what, 5 minutes? Really, really nice and easy to do, and nice and quick. Okay, so if Richard wanted to view that form, all he needs to do, or if he wanted to amend it and add something else to it, or indeed if he wanted to actually delete it, he could do anything there. But what he's also got the option to do once he's in these learning forms is he can print it off if he wants to do that as well. So if you're somebody who likes a nice hard copy as well, you can also have your hard copy. Okay, you can pop that in a paper folder if that's what you like doing. But it is all there electronically, so you don't have to print it, but you do have that option. So if Richard wanted to have a wee look at what he's written, let's go into the communication skill ones there. So we'll have a wee look at that. So we'll go into communication skills. That's a previous forum. Richard's going to have a wee look at it. You can see the type of information. So this, John Smith attended communication skills on the 31st of May 2021, and that was a 2-hour course that he attended. It was a virtual session on communication skills in health and social care settings, and he's put down that his key learning points are the essential nature of effectively communicating with patients, service users, colleagues and others, and he's put a lovely wee succinct sentence about how it's impacted on his practice. He's much more aware of the importance of active listening. And then at the bottom, he's added a nice wee bit in about he would like to undertake future training to enhance his communication skills, and he's even identified what it is he's going to do. So you can see that you're building on the information that's contained there. So when John Smith does attend that enhancing your communication skills session that he wants to go on, he can then pop the evidence of that in his portfolio. So he's building as he goes along. So if I'm just wanting to stop for a second here, because I'm aware that we're going through quite a lot of information, and just ask you, and you can pop it in the chat, does that look pretty straightforward and pretty reasonably easy to do? Thanks for that, Catherine. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Please don't be worried about saying I'm still a wee bit stuck, or I would need to fiddle about myself and have a wee look myself, because actually that is what you actually need to do. You need to go on and look at it yourself. So we've covered that evidence section for learning, okay? And you can see here that there's 3 aspects to the learning section. You can put in evidence of your learning, evidence of feedback, or evidence of reflection. And yeah, people are saying yes with a bit of practice. Absolutely. Do you know, it's easy to say something's easy if you know it and you've used it for a while. But the only way something becomes easy, if you keep on using it, go in and use it and don't be frightened of it. And I will reiterate that again. Do not be frightened of it. You won't break it. So we've got learning forms there, and Richard has created a nice learning form for today, for this session today, and he's shown you one of John's previous forms on communication skills. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at one of the other learning forms that you can use, and that is a record of support and supervision. Now, this forum, again, they're very straightforward, the forums. They contain almost the same basic structure, but the record of support and supervision can be used to capture the essence of any professional support or supervision that you've either provided for someone, or you've received yourself, or you've participated in. Again, the forum, as you can see, doesn't ask for a lot of detail. It's quite brief and it's quite concise, but a caveat for this forum is please don't include any person identifiable information on this forum, because if it's support and supervision, you want to make sure that it's not identifying other people, okay? And that is a real caveat to that, because this is yours and it's absolutely private, and you choose. Yes, you can attach paperwork, Gillian, and we'll go through that, I promise you, before the end of the session. That's part of this session. But if it's yours and it's private, that's absolutely fine. But you might at some point want to share it with somebody else, perhaps an appraiser, your line manager, or for whatever other purpose. If you have person identifiable information in there, you might forget you've got that, and you might share something that actually you shouldn't or didn't want to share. Alison, you're saying you can't put any chat up, but I can see chat from you, interestingly enough, so I'm not quite sure what the issue is there. So we've covered that, record of support and supervision forum. That's the kind of caveat for that, and Richard's just shown you through it there, and you can see that it's exactly the same as any other recording learn forum. So if Richard goes back up to the top, you'll see it's the same basic forum, just asking for what you did, when you did it, what was the purpose of the session, what was your reflection from that. So a wee summary of the session or a summary of your reflections. And then you've got in the next bit, what were your key learning points? And we always, all of the forums actually provoke that. We want to promote you putting down your key learning points, because that's vital. Absolutely vital. And yes, Emma, you can add paper like courses you've done and certificates to that as well. We'll show you how to upload those things. And then at the very bottom there, again, it's prompting you to think of your future development, because we know learning, no matter what you learn, it's not a one-off situation. It's about building on it. So you've done that. So what? What did you learn? And now what? What are you going to do next? So you would simply put in your information there and save and exit. And Richard's not going to do that because he's not populated this, so he's just going to cancel it. So when you bring up the forums and you're playing about with them, you can simply go into them, and if you don't want to put in anything, just cancel the forum. It's just you having a wee look. And yes, Andrea, you would add mandatory training on there too, fire safety training. You could add what you like. It's your portfolio. You choose what you want to put in it. So Richard's got a variety of forums here. You can see learning forums. So there is a record of support and supervision, as far as I can tell. There's one there. So if Richard wanted you to have a wee look at it, he's going to pop it on view, and you can see that this session was an introduction to an agreed learning plan to structure John Smith's learning time and to develop an action plan for his learning. So I'm not going to read it all out to you, but you can see John's written a nice wee bit about reflecting on that. So he's summarised it, okay? And he's talked about what he's going to do next, what his key learning points are, and what he's going to do next. And you can see that he's got future meetings planned to review his progress, and he needs to set up some practice supervision. So that's nice and clear and easy to use. So we're just going to return back to the list again. And the last part of the learning evidence that I'm going to talk you through is the professional journey planner, okay? Now, the professional journey planner, we're not going to go into an awful lot of details. We'll just show you the forums, okay? These forums help you to think about what areas you want to develop or achieve in your current role, or your future aspirations, any roles that you think you want to get into in the future. So these can be short-term aspirations or wider-term aspirations, and it can be planning for your educational future, your career future, or anything else that you want to record. So if Richard clicks on the professional journey planner and he clicks on structured, because there are two forums, there's a structured forum and there's a where and how forum. So it gives you two choices of forums. So the structured learner planner, you can see that, you know, what is it you're going to do? Okay. How is it related to your objectives? What specific, measurable, achievable and realistic outcome do you want? So what is it you want? Okay, what is it you want to happen? They're put down on the SMART acronym. Okay, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and timely. So if Richard works his way further down, it's asking you What actions do you need to take and who can help you? And I think that's a lovely prompt. It's getting you to think about who can support you in that and what learning needs do you have and how are you going to meet them. That's the next field. And then what barriers you might encounter and how you're going to overcome those barriers and how you'll know that you've actually achieved the outcome that you want to achieve. How are you going to measure that? And lastly, there's a status update. Okay, so you can put in, if Richard just clicks on that, I'm sure it'll tell us on the select, in progress, complete, or no longer relevant. Okay, so you can select what is the most appropriate there. So perhaps you've thought you might want to do something and then decided it's no longer relevant. So you close that forum off by saying that, or you close it off by saying, I've done it. Or you say, this is actually in progress, and you revisit it at some point, and you would save and exit. But Richard's going to cancel that, and he's going to show you the other type of forum that you can use. Richard, do you want to come in here?
Just to say that this is really good for those of you that maybe don't have access to Turas appraisal. I'm aware that maybe some of you are from third sector or care homes that maybe are not part of the NHS and might not have access to Turas appraisal. So this form would be really good to map out your development over the coming 12 months. And it was just to point that out, Angela.
No, that's perfect, Richard. Thanks. That's a really, really good point and a well-considered one. So we are very aware there are lots of people in the room who work in lots of different sectors. And as we said at the beginning, learning portfolio is for everybody, regardless of what the role is and regardless of who they work for or where they work. It's for absolutely everybody. So the second type of that professional journey plan that you can do is a where and how. And personally, I like this one better. For some reason, it appeals to me better, but that's purely a personal thing. So it's a where and how plan. So what is your overall aim? It's asking you, okay? It's then asking you, where are you at this point in time in relation to achieving that overall aim? And then the next field down is, where do you want to be? So that's quite a nice question to ask. Where do you want to be? And if Richard moves down slightly further, how are you going to get there? And then how will you know that you're there? So how will you know that you've achieved what you want to achieve? And that's that form. Nice, simple prompts. So you would then save and exit that. So what I'm going to do now is I've taken you through those learning forums. You can see that there's 3 different types, okay? And within those 3 different types, you have a couple of options, okay? It's entirely up to you what you want to record. Play about, have a wee nosy through them, open them up, cancel them if you're not writing anything in them, and just have a wee look and see what kind of things you might find useful and what you would want to use. And I'm happy at this point, Richard and Leslie, if you are too, to stop and pause for a second because it's a lot of information, and just take any questions that perhaps are difficult to answer in the chat or that we haven't managed to answer in the chat.
Grace has brought up a point with regards to she finds this a bit of duplication with her own PDP plan and appraisal. And does it copy over? And the answer to that would be that you use professional portfolio how you want to use it. So if you already do that on a different system, then continue to do that with the systems you use, Grace. I wouldn't expect you to duplicate any work. There's no point in doing that. So if you do an appraisal in a different format, then I would continue to do that and record any learning for using your learning portfolio. It would be my answer to that, unless Angela, you would have anything to add to that.
No, I would absolutely, please don't make more work for yourself. But what I would say to you is, when you start using portfolio, see how you get on with it, and you might find that you prefer that. So there's nothing lost. If you've got, whatever you've got and whatever you use is absolutely fine as long as it works for you and it does what you need it to do. So don't duplicate, just use whatever is best for you. But what we would say to you is, you'll never know unless you try learning portfolio. So give it a wee go and see what you think, because it might be that you actually realise it's a better system than you're using, or then again it's not. So nothing lost. Okay.
If I'm reading this right, I think it's with regards to appraisal and how does learning portfolio and appraisal kind of match up together. And my answer to that would be that you can use the information that you record in your professional portfolio to inform your appraisal. So you could use it as evidence to help with your appraisal, would be my answer to that as well. And you can create a share pack with a whole host of information that you could use to support your appraisal as evidence. Hope that answers your question, Grace.
So if everybody's happy, what I'm going to do now, and I see that there's been lots of questions in the chat about uploading documents. Richard's going to cover that in his section, and he's going to look at feedback, forum requests, and he's going to look at uploading documents. So I'm just going to hand you over to Richard now. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, thank you, Angela. I am not going to go into any great detail with share packs and feedback this time, because like Angela said, there is a more advanced, our colleagues are going to cover those two things in the session on Wednesday. I'm just going to draw your attention as to where you might find these. So if you go to evidence, you'll see that feedback is there. You just click on the feedback and it'll bring up a new page for you. And as you can see, like everything else, there is guidance, and there's two different types of form. There's a generic feedback form, and it gives you a whole host of information there that you can read once you sign into your own portfolio. Who should you complete the form? What feedback you should request? So it gives you quite a number of questions there to ponder before you submit or send a generic feedback form to your colleagues or to your supervisors, to your manager maybe, or somebody that you've worked quite closely with. Okay, so you've got your generic form and you've got your direct observation form as well. So there's two different forms that you can send. And how you would do this is you click on this blue button there, and it'll give you the option, like we've seen before. You just click on the option that you want to use. And it's giving you the two options. So just for a generic form, I'm just going to click on that. And it just gives you another form to fill in. So you would just fill in the different sections. So what's the title of the feedback? So for example, you might want feedback on, so you've seen from John's profile that he was doing venipuncture. So John might want to get feedback from somebody who's observed him or has worked closely with him as he's been practicing his venipuncture skills. So you would pop the title in there that it was title on venipuncture skills, for example. And then John would then type in, please could you provide me with feedback on how I performed or how I communicated with the patient with regards to taking blood from the 3 patients you saw me today. Something like that you would put in there. And all you would need is their name, surname, and their email address. And so you populate these boxes there, and then you would send it off, send the request to that person. You can see that these are all blanked off here, and that's because it's the person you're sending the form off to will fill that in, and it stops you from amending anything that they might write in there. So it's a safety feature to stop anybody from tampering with the feedback that you receive. And then you would just submit the request, and that will go directly to them. And often a question that comes up with regards to these forms is, does the other person need a professional portfolio? And the answer would be no. They would just get access to this particular form. They would fill it in, and then they would send it back to you, and it'll be stored in your professional portfolio. So say you're not ready to send it yet, you just save as draft. But if you filled in all the sections, you just submit the request. But I'm just going to cancel that, and that's going to be covered in the advanced session on Wednesday. So I'm just going to leave the form there. Okay. And then you've also got the direct observation form, and I'll just quickly show you that. And then you just pick the different, I won't go into the acronyms, but there's different acronyms for different types of forms, and you can explore. But the direct observation is this one. Again, you'd give the title, date of the observation, name of the person, which is yourself, and the nature of the skills and the complexity, brief description, and again, you would need the details of the person that you're going to share it with, and then they would fill in the rest of it. And like Angela has said, play about with it, have a look, you can't break it, have a look and see which feedback form is most appropriate to you and what you're asking for feedback on, I suppose, is the message there. I'm just going to scroll down so that I can come out of this. And again, it's highlighted out to avoid any tampering. And I'm just going to cancel that. So those are the two different types of feedback forms that you can get. Okay, and you see that John has already sent Lynn Patterson. He's had feedback from Lynn Patterson about end of life care. Okay. So the other part within evidence is that you can do reflections on any learning that you do. So after this week, depending on what sessions you go to, you might want to do different reflections depending on the things that you see and do this week. And again, you have support there that you can, these drop down boxes that you can use to give you a little bit more extra information about what, why, and what models you can use. So there's a few different models that the learning portfolio allows you to create, and these are here. And if you click on reflective account, it'll give you the different options. You've got Gibbs, you've got Driscoll's model, you've got a value-based reflective practice model, and then there's a blank form as well. Now the simplest one I would say would be the Driscoll's model, and I don't know whether any of you have heard of any of these before, but the Driscoll model is the simplest, and it's a really quick and easy tool that you can use. So you give a title, so you might want to reflect on this session today. So you would put learning portfolio session, you would put today's date, and then fill in answer three simple questions. So what would be a description of what you learned, and then so what would be very much looking at explaining why it was significant to you in your role as a healthcare support worker, and the now what then talks about and asks you to think about what are you going to do next based on what you've learned and explored in your previous two sections. So so many actions that you're going to do moving forward. So it's just three simple questions that you can use as a reflective tool. But again, in my training, I was familiar with the Gibbs model, so that probably would be my preferred one. But if you've never used a reflective model before, then maybe the Driscoll's model might be the one for you guys. Any questions on the reflective or reflection part of the professional portfolio or feedback? Is there anything that I need to address with regards to feedback, Angela or Leslie?
So we've got a question there, is there guidance around giving feedback? So Helen's asked that, and Fiona has asked, can feedback be provided by anyone? And so it's not to give feedback to another colleague. So Fiona, it is to give feedback to colleagues. So if you're both using Portfolio, you can both ask for and give feedback. So if I wanted feedback from Richard as to what I'm like to work with as a colleague, I can submit that feedback request to him, whether or not he uses Learning Portfolio. If Richard wants to provide that back to me, he just uses the form that comes to him via his email. Richard, because he uses Portfolio, can also request feedback from me using that function. So it's a two-way process. And as we said, the guidance for feedback is really just using the template provided. So actually so what I would do when I'm asking a colleague for feedback is I would put in my wee box that I'm submitting the feedback request in. Dear Richard, could you please provide feedback on what I'm like to work with as a fellow educator? Please give me constructive feedback as well as any positive feedback. I need it for my learning. Okay, so it's entirely up to you how you use it. Richard, I don't know if you want to pick up any of the other questions on feedback in the chat, or do you want me to do it?
So Lucy has just come in and said feedback on paper, that's fine. If it's on paper, you can scan it into your computer and you can upload it as evidence that way. I wouldn't expect you to duplicate work. This isn't about making it harder, it's about making it easier for you guys. So if you do have something stored, for example, on a Word document or a written piece of work that you can scan into your computer and then upload, then all the better. The professional portfolio is somewhere that you can store all this evidence safely in one place is probably the message I would get out there, is that's what you use it for. But if you prefer having it all in a folder, that's fine as well. But it's so that you have it all electronically. And I'm just going to scroll if there's anything else.
And just to reiterate, folks, this is your portfolio and it's private. It's accessible to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is only accessible to you, and the only way that other people can see your information is if you choose to share it with them. So it's extremely confidential.
So I shall just give you a quick demonstration on how you would upload documents. And Suzanne, you would be able to, yes, you would be able to access your portfolio. Yeah. So upload documents. Again, you have the wee plus icons there for any guidance and what kind of documents you can upload. So there you go. You can upload a Word document, Excel, PowerPoint, images, scanned documents, like I said, or any PDFs that you might have created. So I know in appraisal, Turas appraisal, you can create PDFs and you might want to upload them into your professional portfolio. You might not, because you can already access them in your appraisal, so you wouldn't need to. But if you do create something in a PDF, you can upload that. Okay. So as you can see, our John Smith has already uploaded quite a number of different pieces of evidence. Okay. So for the purposes of today, I want to upload a certificate, for example, and this applies whatever type of evidence that you're going to upload, whether it be a Word document, Excel, etc. So I'm going to upload a document. Okay. So this is the page that comes up. All right. And this is just to make it easier for you to find, so you can tag anything that you upload into your portfolio. So because it's a completion certificate, I'm going to call it evidence. Okay. And it's for facilitation of learning program. I'm just going to make up a random date and say it was the 11th last year. Okay. Now you don't have to put a description in. It's entirely up to yourself. Okay. And I'm going to choose, as you can see, I've got quite a number of, so I'm just going to go to my hard drive. And if I go to my desktop, I've saved all my healthcare support working certificates here. Okay. So I'm going to click on that folder. It's a PDF, as you can see. I'm going to highlight it and open. And as you can see, it's uploaded my Facilitation of Learning Certificate, John Smith 2018. Okay. And then I'm going to click Upload. And like I said, this would apply to a Word document, a PowerPoint, anything you like. And as you can see, the green icon comes up. Your document has successfully been saved. So if I scroll down, as you can see, it saved it twice. I don't know how it's managed to do that. So I'm going to delete one of them.
So Richard's going to demonstrate how you really delete a forum. It's not even a kid-on demo, it's a real demo.
So as you can see, I've tagged it as evidence, and I can view, edit, download it again if I so wish, delete or print it off. So I'm just going to view, and I can see that my certificate is there, safe and sound. Okay, and that I completed it on the 11th, even though it says 2018, ignore that. Okay, and it's all there for me. And now I'm going to return to my list. So all that evidence you spoke, a couple of you said, can I upload my any evidence, any feedback? Yes, you can. You would use the same function, upload. It brings up this page, and then you would look on your computer. You would give it a title, when you did it, brief description if you wanted, and then you would look to find the folder, the file, and then click upload.
Thanks, Richard. So what we've done today, folks, is we've given you a real flavour of professional portfolio, learning portfolio, whatever you want to call it. And we've talked about how you could use it. We've talked about the different functions of it. So we've told you or shown you how you can add your personal details. We've given you some examples of evidence forms that you can fill in. So your record of learning, your record of support and supervision, or reflective accounts. We've looked at some learning plans, we've looked at how to upload a document, and we've looked at the feedback function and your ability to create a share pack. And although we haven't covered that in detail, we know that that is being covered in the session on Wednesday. So we've briefly highlighted it. So that's what we've covered so far. And we just wanted to highlight what the purpose of professional portfolio, learning portfolio is, and what the benefits are. And Richard's put up a slide that very clearly outlines all them. And in answer to some of your questions, it made me laugh when people were saying, I'm retiring, can I still use it? I'm leaving the NHS. You can use it, it's lifelong, it's yours, all your learning's in one place, it's safe, it's secure, and it's permanent. And it enables you to see your strengths and developments, as I said at the beginning of the session, and look at what your needs and your experience needs are. I'm not going to read down this list, it's pretty comprehensive, but you can see that it's a really nice thing. It's a really nice thing to be able to use and to have. It's yours for life. And as I said earlier, you're in control of it. It's yours, and you choose who you share it with and when. Okay, and it is about supporting you in your career and in your learning and development. And if that's about career progression, if that's the way you want to go, that's absolutely fine. It's entirely up to you. And it can record your recognition of prior learning as well. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hand you back to Richard, and Richard's got a wee question to ask you. He's got a couple of wee questions to ask you before we wrap up. But please keep the, Fiona, you're asking, does it rearrange in date order? Yes, it does. You can actually click, there's a wee functionality bit, wee arrow working down, that works down. So you can actually organise it in dates if that's what you want to do, okay? And it's nice to see that people didn't realise how much they'd already used, but they're now going to make use of bits that perhaps they haven't tapped into. So that's fantastic. That's the bits that we love to hear. So I'm going to hand you back to Richard, who's going to look at the kind of things that you might want to record in your portfolio.
Okay. Something came into it. There is guidance, and we'll pop a link to the guidance in the chat as well for you as well. Okay. So just a question, and please use the chat box. What counts as learning for you guys? And it's not just about attending courses or attending, you could class today, this week as a course, if you like. But what counts as learning for you guys? Experiences, yes. So again, your experiences, you could record that as a reflection, practice reflection. Yeah. Any skills? So you could be having some kind of development within your own clinical areas. Shadowing opportunities, excellent, yes, and learning from other nurses, and that could be through conversation. So that's all learning. Witnessing, so observing, yeah, observing others. So that's coming new approaches to use, and I'm guessing that would again come from through conversations or through experience. Dealing with patients and new learning that you get from that, excellent. So this is all learning and all things that you could be recording in your learning portfolio. There's a lot of observation, there's a lot of learning from others, feedback from service users on other professionals, updating knowledge and refreshing your skills. Yeah, all good suggestions, and all these things. Chats over coffee, yes, you could be learning from others, and you can learn from reading. So you might have read something, or that is learning. Every day, yeah, every day's a school day, as they say, so you can learn something new every day. Books, internet, yes. And that could be online learning as well, yeah. Excellent. Huddles, team briefs, yes, and debriefs as well. My background's in theatre nursing, so there's a lot of debriefs after each operation list, and there's a lot of learning done there. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Any questions or anything else? Okay. Anything else that you would like to ask us with regards to anything we've covered today? Bearing in mind, you will have an opportunity to see more about SharePack and feedback on Wednesday.
Andrea, a share pack is just a collection of evidence that you can collate and gather from your portfolio that you might want to share with other people. And if you want to know more about that, if you're booked into the session on Wednesday, great. If you're not booked into the session on Wednesday, you can access the recording afterwards and have a wee look at that, and that will explain what a share pack is and how to actually create a share pack.
And Fiona, your forms might look slightly different depending on the device you're using, or it could be the browser you're using. Sometimes it can look slightly differently depending on the browser. So if you're using Internet Explorer instead of Google Chrome, for example, it can sometimes look slightly differently. So I would try using a different browser. So what next? Just practice, practice. Sign up for one if you haven't done one already, and make sure that you use it or lose it kind of thing. And you've also got the session on Wednesday, and like Angela said, it will be recorded if you can't make it. Okay. And fingers crossed, my questions are going to work.
There's a wee question from Susan, Richard. I'll just say, Susan, you're a physio support worker. It's absolutely the same for healthcare, for AHPs. It doesn't matter where you work. If you're a support worker, doesn't matter where you work, who you work with, what you work with. It's the same for you. It's absolutely for everybody.
So I've popped a wee question into the chat there, or you should be able to see. So if you were given the choice, which of the following would you prefer your portfolio to be called? Learning portfolio, professional portfolio, or none of the above? Say it, Angela. We might have a Brexit situation here. It's quite close.
I can't see the results yet, Richard. You'll need to tell me.
So at the moment, learning portfolio's got. Oh, it's changing all the time. I feel like I'm. What's the guy's name? That's on the elections night. So it's. Learning portfolio is currently at 43%, professional portfolio 56%, and none of the above is 1%. So yeah, we'll see
So
how that.
if you're saying none of the above and you have a suggestion, please pop it into the chat box, because it'd be quite interesting to see what you think it could be called instead of either learning portfolio or professional portfolio. But please bear in mind, folks, no matter what we call it, it's absolutely the same for everybody. It's a portfolio to record your learning and development, and that's what's important.
I'm just going to ask you 3 more questions, and then we'll be closing the. First question is, in 3 words, how would you describe today's session? You don't have to use 3 words. You can only use the one if you want, but how would you describe today's session? Formative is coming high on the list, Angela, so that's good. So there's a lot of different answers. Helpful, informative, interesting, useful, practical. That's all really great. Thank you very much, everybody who's populating these questions for us. This is good for us, and this is a way of us getting feedback from you guys. So it's just a different way of getting feedback from you guys. So thank you very much. I'm going to ask, what actions are you going to take following today's session? Practice, that's key. Whoever's the first to put that in, create a portfolio, great. Yeah, that's what we want you to do. Cascade to colleagues, yes, please tell your colleagues. Explore Turas, excellent, yes, and explore your professional portfolio as well. Create my profile, excellent. Populate my profile. These are all really good actions, thank you. Work on my portfolio, excellent. record all of my learning. Really good examples of what you're going to do. My last question I'm going to launch with only 3 minutes to spare is, do you feel confident in signing up, navigating and using your Turas professional portfolio? 99% says yes, so that's a few not sure's, but nobody's saying no, so that's good. So that's good. And a few people in chat I can see think so, not sure's, so, and thank you very much for your participation today. Yeah, anything you would add, Angela?
No, just to say it's been fantastic listening to all your questions, and just, you know, just hearing your enthusiasm for learning and development is brilliant, and we want to support you and we want to help you. We want to make it as easy as possible for you, and this is one way of doing that. And I popped a wee link into Support Worker Central. That's a lovely site where you can find lots of information, resources in relation to your own learning and development. That's there for all support workers, so please visit that. And your questions have been really insightful, and they demonstrate just your enthusiasm for learning and development, so thank you.